I get asked some version of the exact same question all the time. People want to know what the actual process looks like. Not a tip here, not a strategy there, but a full thing start to finish. What do I actually do when I decide to create a book? Where do I start? What tools do I use? What order does everything happen in? And how does a random idea eventually turn into a live book listing on Amazon? That's what this video is. The whole process, nothing left out, in the exact order that I do it. I've been doing this for years, and this is what my workflow looks like right now in 2026. I'm going to cover everything: how I come up with ideas, how I validate them before I commit, how I actually create a book and how I set up the listing, and what I do once it's published. I'll also be sharing something that I've added to my workflow more recently that I really think is worth your time, and I will show you that as we go. Let's get into it. Now, if you are new here, I'm Caroline, and I'm a self-publisher who has been creating and selling books on Amazon for over 7 years, and on this channel I show you how to do the same. Now, everything starts with an idea, but I do want to be clear about something. I don't sit around waiting for inspiration. I go looking for it in a very specific place, and that very specific place is Amazon. My starting point is almost always a broad niche category. I think about the types of books that consistently sell well in the low content space. Coloring books for adults and for kids, activity books, puzzle books, journals, planners, workbooks, logbooks, trackers. I'm not starting from scratch every time. I have a rough sense of the niches that work, and I'm looking within those for something specific. What I'm actually doing when I go to Amazon is I'm looking for what is already selling. I browse within a niche, I look at the bestseller ranks, and I pay attention to books that are clearly doing well, but don't have a huge number of reviews. That gap matters. A book with, let's say, 15 or 20 reviews and a strong bestseller rank tells me that that niche doesn't require a massive catalog of books to compete in, and that's a good sign. I'll also type phrases into the Amazon search bar and see what it suggests. These autocomplete suggestions are not random. They are based on what Amazon's customers are actually typing in. So if I go in and I start typing activity book 4 and Amazon finishes that sentence with a bunch of different options, that is really useful market research. I'm not overthinking this. I'm looking for patterns. Once I have spotted something that looks promising, I go deeper. I look at the actual listings in that space, within that niche. What do the book's interiors look like based on the preview? How's the cover? What keywords are they using in their titles and subtitles? I'm not copying anyone. I'm trying to understand what buyers in the niche are looking for and whether I can create something that serves them well. The thing that I'm trying to avoid is spending hours designing and creating a book that nobody wants. So before I open any design software, I want to be reasonably sure that there's demand for what I'm about to make. Amazon's own data tells me that if I know where to look. There are a few things that will stop me from pursuing an idea. If the top listings all have hundreds upon hundreds, thousands upon thousands of reviews, the niche is more competitive and it's harder to get traction, especially with a newer book. If bestseller rank numbers on the top books are very high, meaning that there's poor sales, that's a sign that the demand is not strong enough to be worth my time. And if every book looks polished and professional and I really can't see a way that I can make something more meaningful or better or different, then I will usually move on. When I do find something that ticks all the boxes, which are solid demand, manageable competition, and a gap that I can fill, then I move forward. Now we're onto the design stage, and this is where most of the work actually happens, and I want to walk you through what this looks like in practice. I work primarily in Canva and BookBolt for my low content books, sometimes in PowerPoint, depending on what type of book that I'm making. For the interior pages, I'm either working from a template that I've already built and adapted over time for an already existing brand or an already existing type of book, or I'm creating pages from scratch, usually in Canva. For puzzle books specifically, I do use puzzle generation tools to make those books for me. Links to any of the puzzle book, activity book tools that I do use are always down in the description box below. Now, the trim size is the first thing that I sort out, and trim size is basically the size of your book. KDP has standard sizes. We've got 8.5 inch by 11 inch, which is probably the most common for most low content books, like activity books and puzzle books. Then we've got 6 inch by 9 inch, and that is pretty standard for things like guided prompt journals, and things like logbooks. But 8.5 inch by 8.5 inch is what's trending at the moment, and it has done for the last couple of years for coloring books. And I do decide on the trim size before I start designing anything because everything in the book has to be built around those dimensions. For the interior, I'm thinking about user experience. Is the content clear and easy to use? Is there enough space to write if it is an activity book or a guided prompt journal? Does each page have consistent margins? I check KDP's bleed and margin requirements before I finalize anything because getting those wrong means the file gets rejected at the upload phase, and that is just a waste of everybody's time. The cover is its own process. A low content book cover needs to do one job really well, and that is make someone stop scrolling and click. That's it. It doesn't need to be complicated. And honestly, some of the top performing low content book covers are quite simple. What they are not is low effort and generic. I spend real time on covers because a bad cover will sink a good interior every single time. I look at what's working in my niche, not to copy it, but to understand the visual language of that category. Are the top sellers using bright colors or muted ones? What fonts are common? Is there a particular style of illustration that shows up a lot? I use that as context, and then I try to make something that fits in that world, but also stands out from it. I do one of two things. I design my covers in Canva using KDP's cover templates, which you can download directly from KDP with the exact dimensions for your book based on the trim size and the page count. You do need to know your page count before you do this because spine width changes depending on how many pages the book has. Or I buy a cover from someone experienced in low content book cover design. On Fiverr, you can hire someone very, very affordably on there. And I do highly recommend most of the time to get someone who knows what they are doing to create your cover for you. Once I've got a finished interior and cover, I export both of them as PDFs because that is the files you are going to need to upload into your KDP account. Now, before I get to the uploading and listing stage, this is the part of the process where I start thinking about something that I think is quite underused in low content publishing, and that is having a website. I know what you're thinking. I've got books on Amazon. Why do I need a website? And look, you can absolutely build a self-publishing income without one, but here is the thing. Amazon controls the relationship between you and your customers. In fact, they are not your customers. They are Amazon's. Amazon does not give you your buyers' email addresses. You can't contact those customers directly. And if your account has a problem, your income stops immediately. A website gives you somewhere that's yours. It's where you can link all your books, you can build an email list, and have a presence that's independent from Amazon's algorithm. I use Hostinger for my websites, and they are the sponsor of this video. I use Hostinger's AI website builder to build my brand websites because it is the fastest way I've found to get a professional looking website up without needing any technical skills or design skills. Let me show you how it works. Go to Hostinger using the link in the description box below. Now we are going to be selecting the business website builder plan because it will give us access to the AI website builder and the option to add an online store so that we can sell any additional products down the track when we are building out our brand beyond books on Amazon. To get the best price possible, you will want to choose the 48-month plan. Also, Hostinger does have a 30-day money-back guarantee, so you can try it out totally risk-free. Something else that is really helpful when you're creating a website for your self-publishing brand is that Hostinger hosting includes a free domain name for the first year. If you are thinking longer term about building a self-publishing brand around your books, having your own website with a domain that reflects that can make everything feel much more established and professional from the start. Your first step will be choosing a domain which will most likely match your brand name, and keep in mind you want something flexible. Avoid naming your site after one specific book. Think broader. You want a name that still makes sense if you publish 20 or 40 books in the future. Now, I do have a coupon code that will get you an additional 10% off, so make sure to pop that in before you check out, and let's get to building our website. And don't worry if you have no idea about how to build a website. This AI website builder makes it so easy. Let me show you. We're just going to go set up our hosting, and we're just going to go through and answer a few questions. We're going to be creating a new website. We want to use the hosting a website builder. You just need to enter the domain name that you'd like to use. And if you have selected the 48-month hosting plan, you will get it free for the first year. And this is where you pop it in. Now, all we need to do is enter a prompt, which is going to describe to the AI website builder what we want our website to look like, what we want it to include, what pages, and the overall vibe of the website. So I'm just entering in a prompt for a coloring book brand. And from there, it generates a website for you. Not a blank template that you have to fill in, an actual site with sections, layout, placeholder content, all of it. And the whole process takes maybe 30 seconds. And now this is the part where you make it yours. I'm going to go through the key sections that you want for a publisher site. So first of all, the homepage, you want to update any of the headlines to something that tells people immediately what you publish, something that is clear and searchable. Don't be too clever here, be clear. Next, I did ask the website builder to add a books section. This is where you can link out to your Amazon book listings. You can use the buy on Amazon affiliate link format or just your regular listing URL. Keep it simple. The book image, the title, and a button that takes them to Amazon, and that is it. I've also added an about section, just a short paragraph about who you are and what you publish. People like knowing that there is a real person behind the books. And then there is an email sign up. This is the most important one. Hostinger integrates with major email platforms, so you can connect to whatever email platform you want to use. The goal is to have somewhere people can sign up so you can let them know when new books come out. And once you're happy with how it looks, you publish it. The whole thing, from starting the AI website builder to having a live site, you're looking at maybe half an hour to an hour if you take your time. One mistake people make with websites is thinking everything needs to be perfect before they launch. It doesn't. Your website will evolve as your business evolves. You can add pages later. You can change wording later. You can refine your brand later. It is incredibly easy to use, and it is built for people who want something quick, clean, and professional. This is the kind of thing that helps you move from publishing single books to building a connected brand over time, which becomes more valuable the more products that you create. If you want a website that looks good without any of the tech stress, Hostinger's AI website builder is perfect for beginners. I will leave a link down in the description box below so you can go check it out. Right, let's get back to our publishing workflow, uploading to KDP. Once my interior files and my cover files are ready, I go to KDP to set up the paperback listing. I'm going to walk you through this process in the order that KDP presents it. The first thing that you fill in is the title and subtitle. This isn't just a description of your book. It's part of your keyword strategy. Your main title should match what people are searching for, and your subtitle is another opportunity to include relevant keywords. So if I'm publishing a Sudoku puzzle book for adults, my title will most likely include the words Sudoku puzzle book for adults, and my subtitle tells them a little bit more: difficulty level, how many puzzles it contains, but be specific. The author name field is where you put your pen name if you're using one. Most people in the low content space do use a pen name or a publishing name. It is totally fine and it's totally normal. Series and edition fields are optional, but if you are building a series of related books, filling in the series field does help Amazon connect them all together and gives you a few extra features on your sales listing page that you don't get if you don't have a series. Then you get to the description, and this is your sales copy, and most people write a pretty mediocre one, to be honest. I take time with mine. The description should tell exactly what's in the book, who it is for, and what they're going to get out of it. Next, we have keyword section, and this gives you 7 fields, and each field can contain a whole keyword phrase, not just a single word if you want to. I do dedicated keyword research for this, separate from the niche research I did at the beginning. I do use tools like BookBolt and Publisher Rocket to find keyword phrases with decent search volume and manageable competition, and I'm looking for phrases that actual buyers type in, not just terms that seem relevant to me. Those are not always the same thing. Categories are next, and you do need to think about them carefully rather than just picking the 2 that seem the most obvious. KDP gives you 2 category slots, and the temptation is to go broad, to pick the biggest, most general categories you can find because more people are browsing there. But broad categories are also where the most competition lives, and a new book with no review can often get buried. A better approach is to find categories that are specific enough that you have a real chance of ranking well in them, but still have enough traffic to be worth being in. Spend a few minutes browsing the category structure on Amazon before you choose. Look at what's in there, how competitive it is, whether your book actually belongs. The right categories put your book in front of the people who are already looking for exactly what you've made. Now you can upload your files, you upload your interior, and then your cover. KDP does run an automated check on both files when you upload them. So if something's wrong, this is where it'll get flagged. Read what it says so you know what you need to do to fix it. And once both files are uploaded and the previewer looks correct, do check the previewer. You can't skip this step. So then we can move on to pricing. For low content books, I generally price at least $9.99 for a standard paperback, depending on page count and what comparable books in the niche are priced at. I check what the top sellers are charging. You want to be competitive, but you also don't want to undercut yourself so much that your royalty becomes negligible. KDP's royalty calculator is right there on the page. Use it to see what you'll actually make at different price points before you commit. And remember, customers aren't always looking for the cheapest book available. Then you submit it for review. And KDP usually reviews and approves new books within 72 hours, though it is often a lot faster. I've had books approved in a few hours, and then other books I've had take 2 or 3 days. Once it's approved and live, your book is searchable on Amazon, and that's the moment that it can start earning royalties. But I do want to be realistic about what happens next. A brand new book with no reviews, no sales history, has very little visibility on Amazon. The algorithm doesn't know what to do with it yet. That's normal. What determines whether a book gains traction in its first few weeks is mostly whether people click on it and whether they buy it when they do. That click comes from your cover and your title showing up in search. The purchase comes from your cover, the price, your description, and your reviews. In the beginning, you have 0 reviews, which is just the reality of launching a new book. It is not a problem. It's just where everybody starts. I watch the sales data for a new book for the first few weeks. If it is getting sales and it's moving in the right direction, I leave it alone and just keep monitoring it. If it is getting no traction at all after a month, I look at the listing. I'll reconsider the keywords, possibly revise the description. Sometimes I'll even test a different cover. It is not a set and forget situation, especially at the beginning. I also run Amazon ads on most of my books. I'm not going to go deep into Amazon ads in this video because that is a whole topic on its own, but I will say this. Ads are a tool, not a magic solution. If your listing is weak, ads are just going to show a weak listing to more people. Get the listing right first. Now, after it's published, what's the bigger picture? Here's the thing about low content book publishing that takes a while to understand. One book is almost never the point. The people who do build a real income from this are the ones who treat it like a catalog business. Each book is one more income stream in a growing portfolio. Some books perform really well and carry a disproportionate amount of the revenue that comes in. Some books tick along quietly. Some books barely sell and you just move on from them. But when you have 50 or 100 or even say 200 books across different niches, the whole thing actually becomes a lot more stable than any single book could ever be. What that means in practice is the process that I just walked you through isn't something you do once. It's something you repeat and you get faster at it. You make better decisions earlier because you're not second guessing yourself on the same things over and over. You build an eye for what works because you've seen enough of what doesn't. The workflow doesn't really change much once you've got it down. The research, the design, the upload, the listing optimization, it's the same steps every single time. The skill is in the decisions that you make at each step, and those decisions get sharper the more books that you create. I'm not going to pretend that this is something passive or automatic. It is a real business and it takes real work to maintain it and grow it. But it is also genuinely flexible. It scales without a lot of additional overhead, and it is almost limitless to how much you can scale it. And the books that you publish today can still be selling in 5 years or even more. And that's pretty amazing. Now, if you did enjoy this video, YouTube thinks that you might like these ones too. So please go check them out to learn more about self-publishing your own low and medium content books on Amazon. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video.